Hey, what's happening? My name is D and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about this TikTok that I saw like a couple of weeks ago. It went, I don't think you could say it went viral, but it was like passed around a lot on the bookish side of TikTok. So I want to talk about it. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to my to my plus ultra don't fretter laughing cat dog. Thank you so much for your support on Patreon. It means the world to me. You're helping me create this content and ensure that I'm able to put it out as frequently as I do. If you also want to help ensure that I keep creating this content and putting out as frequently as I do, or even more frequently, make sure you consider subscribing to my Patreon or just, liking the video, commenting, whatever. I debated whether or not I wanted to make a video about this. When the moment was happening, I was like, I don't think I want to, because this woman was getting stitched a lot and kind of getting like disrespectfully disagreed with into oblivion. I think she like deleted her TikTok and her Instagram or made them private or something like that. And so as far as I know, she's like off social media for the moment. And I don't want to add to the chorus of voices being like, what a shitty person, or this woman sucks. Because there's been enough of that. She's gone. Like, I'm not trying to cancel this lady. Canceling's not real. But I am going to use this video as like a jumping off point to talk about some stuff that's been on my mind for the last little bit. So we're going to talk about like reviews, star ratings, reviews being for readers, and being precious with your work. So anyways, I'm going to play the clip and then we'll come back.
PSA, if you are rating books lower than a 3, you are the asshole. Let me tell you why. I have been writing my book, for like, I don't know, 3-4 months now. I'm like hundreds of thousands of words in, 120,000. It is so motherfucking hard. And if someone has not only written, but also edited and published a book, minimum 3 stars. I don't care how much you hate it, give it 3 stars, because those authors deserve it. It is hard motherfucking work.
Okay, so off the jump, this comes off as like pretty entitled, right? And that's what a lot of the stitches that I saw on booktok were saying.
Writing a book is hard, so I deserve at least 3 stars on Goodreads just for putting in the effort, right?
And I think that that's pretty outrageous to me, because yeah, books are hard to write or hard to make. Same with like movies and TV shows and all this stuff. But like, just because it was made doesn't automatically make it good. And I would consider 3 or higher to be good. I think 2.5, that halfway mark is like okay. I know some people will say that 2.5 means bad, but I don't see it that way, because it's the halfway mark. That's 50%. That's a C-, baby. But in this video, this woman like kind of breaks a couple of times, So I feel like this video is coming from a place of like insecurity. And you might be thinking to yourself,
yeah, no shit, D. Obviously this woman's insecure.
To which I'd say like, hey, whoa, no need to be rude. What I'm trying to say is that what I'm hearing when I watch this video is I'm writing a book. It's really, really hard, and I'm scared that people aren't going to acknowledge my hard work. Like, at the very least, even if you don't like my book, can you please just acknowledge how hard this was for me to make? So I'm making this video saying that if you don't at least acknowledge my hard work, even if you don't like my book, that makes you an asshole, and that's going to protect me and my work. That's going to protect my ego. And I've said this before. I don't know if I've ever said it in a YouTube video, but I'll say it again. I'll probably have to say it like again further down the line. But the only way to really protect your work from scrutiny or critique is to not share it. Once you put your work, like whether that's fiction, nonfiction, poetry, music, comedy, whatever, out into the world, you've released it, you've let it go. And that means that there's a chance that your work can find its way to people who don't really rock with it. Somebody who might even give it 3 stars or less on a scale of 1 to 5. That doesn't necessarily make them an asshole. Like, everyone's entitled to their subjective opinion on your work, and the amount of effort you put into that work is kind of irrelevant. If they don't like it, they don't like it. You could work really hard on something and it's still just not gonna work for some people, and that's okay. If the idea of somebody disliking your work to this extent like scares you to the point where you try to like establish control over what people can say about your work, you might not be ready to share it. There is always a risk to sharing your art with the world, and if you're trying to seize control like this, that could be an indication that you're not ready like emotionally to share your work. So I want to cover like a couple of different things in this video. So let's just call this part 1, how to protect yourself from bad reviews. Number 1, you can't. Your favorite books have negative reviews. There are people who just straight up don't like your favorite book. even though to you that's a masterpiece. A lot of that has to do with the fact that there's just a lot of subjectivity when it comes to reviewing books or consuming art. Everybody has their own perspective, and they're looking at art through the lens of that perspective. So when you think about your work, like it's just not gonna be for everybody. And any book that tries to be for everybody ends up not being for anybody. Number 2, don't go into review spaces. Reviews are not for authors. They are for readers. A few months ago, I had a very passionate commenter disagree with me on that statement, which I didn't coin that term or phrase. That's something that I picked up from Reads with Rachel and some other reviewers. I'm pretty new to the internet book space, so I didn't start that. But anyways, this person sent me like an essay explaining to me why my stance was wrong. And one thing that they said that stuck out to me was, if an author doesn't go through their reviews, how are they ever going to improve? And here's the thing, like as a book reviewer and a literary commentator, I don't know what I am. It's not my job to help an author improve their craft, especially not for free. Like they don't get really specific constructive criticism from me for nothing, unless they're one of my creative writing students, in which case like they don't have to pay me, someone else is, and that's different, and you know it. Shut up. It's my job as like a YouTuber who makes book reviews to help other readers decide whether or not they want to check out a book or just entertain them with my commentary on something that they've already read. Like, I guess I do like semi-comedic literary analysis. Like, it's just not in my job description to help a specific writer improve their craft. And this isn't like a fully formed thought, you know, it's something that I'm still kind of working through my own creative journey. But like, you shouldn't go to fucking Goodreads for like critiques on how to improve your writing, because you don't know the people who are giving these reviews. So like other readers can read those things and be like, this book has these things in it and I didn't like that. And they can be like, oh, I don't like those things either, so maybe I'll avoid. Or, oh, I love those attributes of a book, so I'm gonna go in there, you know? Like, one of the beautiful things about the internet is that anyone can share their opinions. And one of the worst things about the internet is anyone can share their opinions. So as a writer of any kind, like whether that's books or screenplays, jokes, music, whatever, I would recommend being like a little discerning about where you get your feedback from. Like, for example, a writer who wants to be like the next Sarah J. Maas, the next Colleen Hoover, the next J.K. Rowling, whomever, my opinions on any book shouldn't matter to you. Like, look at me, I'm not your target demographic. So while my main reason for saying reviews are for readers, not authors, is more for reader safety than anything, I also just don't think that it's super helpful for authors, because like as a writer, you shouldn't be listening to a dude whose opinions shouldn't hold a lot of weight for you. And number 3, create a support system and find like specific beta readers and editors whose tastes line up with what you're trying to make. Get writing buddies, alpha readers, beta readers, editors. Take the time, do the work, and build a support system that can give you like feedback that you can trust, and from a perspective. And if you're not willing to take that time, put in that effort, that just tells me that you don't want it bad enough. And just like a personal example, what I'm talking about those last 2 points is like, I'm a musician and a spoken word artist, and I know other musicians and spoken word artists who create like very different music and poetry from me. So they might have something to say about my work, and I might hear them out, but I don't take it super seriously or don't take it to heart, because they have very different tastes than me. Like, very strangely, I'm actually friends with like 3 up-and-coming country music stars. I really like all those people. I respect them, but I don't really give a shit what they have to say about the bass line and my R&B, reggae, fusion, pop music, because they just don't like the same thing as me. Now, my absolute best friend, who's an R&B pop musician, anything she says, that's gospel. Anyways, let's move on to part 2. Do star ratings even matter? Whenever I see like a TikTok or a YouTube video about an author getting really angry about a star rating, like Sarah Stusick, you remember her? She called a reviewer, like this reviewer gave her a positive review, but it was like 4 stars or something like that. And she called her a bitch, like, publicly online, and then was like, y'all can't take a joke. Anyways, that's not what this video is about. Reads with Rachel is a great video on that. Anyways, whenever I see authors like acting up, getting pressed over reviews, antagonizing reviewers, making fun of them on their Instagram stories, dedicating splatterpunk torture porn to reviewers they don't like, going to the reviewer's place of work and hitting them on the head with a wine bottle. See, and this is the main reason why I'm like, reviews are for readers. Because it seems as though a lot of authors lack the emotional regulation skills to handle seeing a negative review of their work. Can't handle somebody not loving their baby. And I get that it doesn't feel good when people like tear your work to shreds. This is one of those moments where ignorance truly is bliss, baby. Like, just let it go. And I get that it doesn't feel good when people talk shit about something that you worked really hard on. I get that. And also, reviewers need to be able to share their opinions on books without fear of like what an author might do. They're trying to help other readers make reading and purchasing choices, not help authors improve. They can take a creative writing class. And I know some authors will push back
Like, well, I'm not going to do anything like that, so it should be fine for me. I'm not like other authors. I'm one of the good ones.
Hashtag not all authors. And I'm just in here like, nah, like it's all authors until it's absolutely none of them. All right, anyways, that was a tangent. So anyways, I see authors acting foolish, and I think to myself, nobody even cares about star ratings anymore. And then I realized I didn't actually know if that was true. I just don't care about star ratings all that much. So I posted on my community tab, I made a poll asking my subscribers how important were star ratings to them. Just trying to figure out like if a star rating would influence them to pick up a book or not. And obviously this is just based off of my subscribers. This isn't proper research. A lot of my subscribers, I would say, are a specific type of person. So we've got 379 votes from these absolute sweetheart cinnamon rolls. 63% say that star ratings are somewhat important to them. 33% say they don't care. And 4% say that it's very important. And there were like 30 or more comments on this post. Thank you to everybody who was so engaged. I'm not going to read through all 30 of them because I don't want this to be like an hour-long video. And some of these express like pretty similar sentiments anyway, so I'm just going to read a few. I don't really put a ton of stock in star ratings until it's like 2 stars or lower. When that's the case, I go and actually look at the reviews because usually there's something deeply offensive in the book, there's too many grammatical errors, or it's a marginalized author being unfairly judged. Example, I've seen 1 stars on a book because people felt like the characters being queer needed content warning because they dislike queer characters. That's fucked up. If it's just people being unfair to a marginalized author, I'll still pick it up. Yeah, that seems pretty fair. Star rating alone is pretty useless, but can be one factor in certain contexts. A very popular and highly rated book can be anywhere from genuinely very good to disappointingly mid, to the occasional God wise LOL. And a low-ranked, not super popular book can be between literally unreadable on a fundamental level to actually good for what it wants to be, but broke containment out of its intended niche audience and a bunch of people who don't like that kind of thing read it and tanked the score. Widely read but rated low could be anything really, and a highly scored unpopular book can be a hidden gem or just mid-good but very successful in its niche. And that makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm not a writer like that. Like, I don't write fiction. But if I did, I promise it would be inspired by a lot of, like, pretty niche things like anime and, like, different action movies or something. And I promise, like, it wouldn't be for a lot of people. Maybe one day I'll do it, but it would just be, like, I don't even know if I'd put it on Amazon. I think you'd just get it, like, on my merch site or something, which I don't have. But it would be, like, I'd print 50 copies and that would be it. I don't bother with reviews at all. I don't know why you are subscribed to my channel then, especially on Goodreads where their rating scale is weird and half the people make up their own, between fake 5 stars from ARC review manipulation, bigots who make a job out of 1-starring books featuring or written by minorities, people who use 1 stars as bookmarks, etc. I can't take ratings seriously, and while plenty of people write thoughtful reviews, there's still just the opinions of strangers on the internet. I know my own taste better than they do. If a book has shitty content or bad writing, I'll just DNF it, and then I might read the reviews just to see if other people hated it too, lol. Oh, that's why you follow me. Okay. I tend to not look at the overall rating much, but I usually read the reviews to get more information on the content of the book to see if I like it. Yeah, that makes sense. Not about the numbers. It's about, like, What's in it? When star ratings were invented, they probably meant something, but I think nowadays, especially sometimes, a rating is just how effectively the book is marketed. Fourth Wing has insanely good star ratings because it found an audience that responded to its content in a positive way, even if the quality is not universally agreed upon. Something with a muddier 3-ish star rating might have had struggles finding its audience, and something that was review bomb found the wrong audience. If a book hasn't hit the mainstream, a star rating might matter, but when a book struggles so huge, it's more important to me to see what book reviewers I generally agree with are saying about it. I check the rating beforehand, but I only really pay attention if the average is under 3.5. I still read even if it's lower, but I adjust my expectations so I'll be unsurprised at worst and pleasantly surprised at best. Yeah, gotta temper those expectations, you know? Haters gonna hate, lovers gonna love. Gotta find that sweet middle. Pretty sure that's a Bo Burnham quote, and I probably butchered it. So if I, for some reason, have Bo Burnham fans in the audience, sorry. For me, it depends on how common the negative, if there are any, reviews are. You know, if like 1 in 20 reviews are negative, it's probably fine. But if it's like 19 of 20 reviews are negative, maybe don't pick it up. I am the 5% that changed since this person commented, but of people who it's very important for. I am very particular with the books I like, and craft problems with pacing, flat characters, or poor writing ruin my enjoyment of a book. I have found star ratings almost correlate with my opinions on books thus far, and it's just my system now. I read that so badly, but whatever. You guys are reading it. I don't read anything lower than 3.7 average rating usually. Granted, I have only become an avid reader in the last few years, meaning there are still lots of high-rated reads left I haven't read. Also, the quality of a book is more important to me than its subject matter or plot. That is fascinating. I don't know. I don't know if my reviews have ever been helpful for you then, because I don't even pay attention to the numbers, because I think there have been books that I've read that you could argue are good. Like If We Were Villains, I think you could say is a good book, but I was just so bored and I didn't give a shit. So I just like put it down twice. So to me, the takeaway from all the comments on that post is that like star ratings don't necessarily make or break a book as much as authors seem to fear. Because it's not like if a book doesn't have 5 stars all across the board, nobody's going to read it. That's not what's going to happen. And it seems like, generally speaking, again, this isn't like proper research, but like a lot of folks seem to have said like if the book's general rating is lower than 3.5 or, you know, something like that, they'll investigate as to why. I think some authors are worried that their books are going to be seen as like not objectively good or something, but people review books subjectively. So objectively good is like this impossible standard for you to try to reach. That's way too much pressure to put on yourself. And maybe some authors are worried that people are going to find out that their book isn't perfect. Guess what? It isn't. Nobody's perfect. Why do you think you're the exception to that? And if you're not perfect, your book's not going to be perfect either. And besides that, like, perfection is fucking boring. So I guess to answer the question that I posed, star ratings do matter, but not as much as you might think. And if a book has a general rating that's lower than 3 stars, a lot of readers are smart enough to investigate as to why that is. And sometimes negative reviews can lead to people deciding to pick up a book, which leads me to part 3. Negative reviews are valuable. I think some people really underestimate the value of negative reviews. Part of this is just toxic positivity, and they think that any review that isn't all sunshine and rainbows and cookies and unicorns is someone being a hater. And I think that there are some people who are like afraid of negative critiques or just critiques in general because they're scared of being convinced to not like their favorite thing. But if you can be convinced to not like your favorite thing, why is that your favorite? I personally think like if you love something, you should want to critique it. You should want to dive deep and ask for more or just analyze it. Like I've done that with all 3 of my favorite things on this channel. Nobody watched those videos though. I'm going to review the fucking Sonic movies in the next couple weeks for my Patreon, and that's going to be super fun. So like for writers, you know, just because somebody critiques your work doesn't mean they also don't fucking love it. And on top of that, like, I've given some negative or mixed reviews on books on this channel, and I've had people comment like, based off of what you said, sounds like something that's right up my alley, I'm gonna check it out. And I know that I've checked out a couple of books based off of negative reviews from other people, sometimes because I'm curious and sometimes because they'll say something and I'll be like, that sounds hype, I'm in. I forget what the book was or even who the reviewer was, but I remember seeing a TikTok where someone said this book is like Fast and the Furious. And I was like, say less, I'm there. And obviously, I'm not saying like if you're a writer and you see someone negatively reviewing your book to just go like, oh, damn, this is so valuable, because nobody's going to have that emotional response. Again, part of why I think reviews are for readers is just to protect authors from getting their feelings hurt. But also, I think it's good to remember part 4, reviews are not personal. If you review a book anything less than 3 stars, you are not an asshole, unless you be an asshole in the review. I feel like that goes without saying. I've seen some really mean-spirited reviews. People being racist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, whatever. Or just making the review about the author and not about the book. For writers or any other kind of artist, I think it's important to remember that you are not your work, and your work is not you. People who are reviewing your book are not talking about you. They don't know you. Even if they're talking about you, they don't really know you. And for reviewers, I think it's important to remember, you know, like, you're talking about the book, not the person. Like, even if you hate the book, I guess what I'm saying is, like, even if you hate the book, like, don't go after the writer and say something really out of pocket. Saying like, oh, I didn't like this book, I don't like this author's writing style, or this author, you know, puts problematic content in their books and I don't like that. I think that's all well and fine. But saying something kind of fucked up, like, I hate this book, I hate this author, and they should jump off a bridge. Like, I'm not the tone police or whatever. I'm just saying, like, I think that's going too far. So yeah, this video is kind of all over the place. That TikTok just sparked a lot of thoughts that I wanted to talk about. I hope that it was maybe entertaining or offered some kind of value. I don't really have a conclusion to this essay. Like, I don't think you're an asshole if you review a book anything less than 3 stars. I don't think just because something was hard to do means that it deserves 3 stars or higher on a rating scale. Just because it was hard work doesn't mean the work was good. A great way for writers to keep themselves from getting like punched in the gut from bad reviews would be to not seek them out, stay out of review spaces, and remember, like, once you put out your work, once you release it, you've let it go and it's out of your control and you don't have that control anymore. And that's part of the game of like sharing your art with the world, especially like through the internet, you know, where it could reach anywhere like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. So thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you made it to the end. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you want to support the channel just a little bit more and gain access to exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, make sure you consider subscribing to my Patreon. There you get an extra rant review video from me once per month, as well as access to my private Discord server, the Don't Fret Club Discord server, where you can chat with me and a bunch of really lovely people. We're talking books, movies, animes, talking about our writing, talking about all kinds of stuff. And also, we're doing a book club together now, and we're going to read Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chapeko this month, and we're going to do a live stream and talk about it at the end of the month. Close to the end of the month. Yeah, if any of that sounds interesting or exciting, make sure you consider subscribing to my Patreon. Special thank you to my super duper don't fretters, Keisha, Cassie, Sable, and Nightsmith. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. You're helping me create this content and ensure that I can keep putting it out as frequently as I do. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching this video. My name is D, and don't fret, I'll see you next time. Peace out.